Hello, this is McD the Beast, and this is McD Sports 4 coming to you today with my Big 12 football predictions for the 2022 college football season. Before I continue, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate if you do that. Really try and grow the channel, so go ahead and do that. The Big 12 this year, I think, is going to have a bit of a down year. I think a lot of these teams are just going to beat up on each other in conference play. I do think there are a few teams that are above the rest of the pack that I think has a chance to finish in the top 10 when the season's over. I don't really see a college football playoff contender for the Big 12 this year, but if you're the Big 12, I actually do think the future's bright for the Big 12. I know you guys are losing Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC, but at the same time, you're bringing in Cincinnati, UCF, Houston, and BYU. And I think those four programs right now are really looking up and very stable programs. And I think the future is bright for the Big 12. But as I said, I do think this year is going to be a bit of a down year for the Big 12. Um, I honestly could see the team in the Sugar Bowl not ever being in the top 10 when they entered the Sugar Bowl. So let's get into it. Big 12 football predictions here. We'll kick off with first place, and first place winning the regular season title for the Big 12 is Oklahoma, going 10-2, 8-1 in the conference. I didn't want to pick Oklahoma here, I'll admit. But if you look at how the schedules lay out, you look at the rosters. I'm not saying Oklahoma's the best team in the Big 12, but the way the schedules lay out, I think they'll end up in that first place spot in the Big 12 championship game. I have them going 10-2, 8-1 in the conference. Uh, they're I do have them losing that game to Nebraska out of the conference. I think with year one into Brett Venables' head coaching career, since this is his first ever head coaching job, I do think he might take an early lump or two. And I'm going to say he loses that game on the road against Nebraska there in week 3. And then the conference loss, I know this is going to upset Oklahoma fans. I think Texas does beat you this year and get revenge after last year's game. They probably won the best games in college football history last year in the Red River Shootout. But I think Texas gets revenge, and I think you guys finish the season 10-2, go 8-1 in the conference. Second place, the other team I have in the Big 12 championship game is Baylor. I have Baylor going 10-2 and 8-1 in the conference also. Their out conference loss is going to be on the road to BYU, and their conference loss is going to be to Oklahoma. So that's why I have Oklahoma ahead of Baylor because of the head-to-head. That's the good thing about the Big 12. It's easier to look at the schedules and just go, hey, I'll praise this team ahead of this team because of the head-to-head if they have the same conference standings, which you're going to see a few times here. Um, Baylor, I know people are kind of sleeping on them. I do think people are sleeping on them a little bit. They bring back 6 offensive stars, 6 defensive stars. I just believe what Dave Aranda's doing down there. I just believe in it. I think Baylor's going to be right there again. I think they're probably one of, if not the most physical team in the Big 12 right now. So I think Baylor is going to be in the Big 12 championship game. I have them going 10-2, 8-1 in the conference. And third place, Oklahoma State, 9-3, 6-3 in the conference. Their 3 conference losses are going to be Baylor, Kansas State, and Oklahoma. I do think they sweep the non-conference schedule, including a win against Arizona State. I believe that game is in Stillwater, if I'm not mistaken. But Mike Gundy, he's built a terrific program there at Oklahoma State. Last year, you can make the argument they came a bad spot. Yeah, they came a bad spot and a half yard away from being in the college football playoffs. I mean, that's how close they were to making the college football playoffs, in my opinion. Um, because that's really what the only 2 losses were, basically. The Iowa State game was a bad spot, and the Baylor game and the Big 12 championship game, they came a half yard short. So I do think they do regress a little bit this year. Mike Gundy's teams are usually 9-10 win teams. They usually are never a first place team, and they usually lose to somebody they're not supposed to lose to. I think this year that will be Kansas State. But I think, I mean, you look at Oklahoma State. I know they lose the defensive coordinator. You bring in Derek Mason. I think they're going to be fine defensively. I like Oklahoma State to come in third place in the Big 12, 9-3, 6-3 in the conference. In fourth place, Texas. Yeah, I mean, if you look at Texas, I'm just going to be honest with saying this. They are probably the most, if not at worst, the second most talented team in the Big 12. I'm not sold on Steve Sarkisian. I still think the jury's out on that. Last year they went 5-7. I do think they flip that around, go 7-5, 5-4 in the conference. Their five losses will be to Alabama in the non-conference, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, and Baylor. You look at Texas. They announced that Quinn Ewers is going to be the starting quarterback. Um, they bring back 7 offensive starters and 7 defensive starters. Um, I think that it's going to be a decent year. I really do. It won't surprise me if they even go higher than 7-5. But I'm going to say 7-5. I'm not really buying into the hype. Yeah, I know they're number 20 in my preseason poll, but I mean, I think they're still gonna take a lump or two this season. I really do. So 7-5, 5-4 in the conference for Texas, fourth place. Fifth place, Iowa State, 6-6, 4-5 in the conference. Iowa State loses a lot. They only bring back 3 defensive starters, 5 offensive starters. I will say this: Matt Campbell has really built a great program there. I don't think that they're gonna really miss a beat. I don't think they're gonna fall off. I still think they're going to go bowling. I have them going 6-6, 4-5 in the conference. Their 6 wins are going to be Southeast Missouri, Ohio. They'll beat the Kansas and Kansas State, so they'll beat the Kansas schools, West Virginia, and they'll beat Texas Tech. I think they still make a bowl game. I still think that as long as Matt Campbell's there, they'll go bowling every year. I just think this is going to be a bit of a down year for them because they do lose a lot. But I still think they finish fifth place. The way the schedules work out and how I have the wins and losses, I still think they finish fifth place. So I still think it's going to be an okay year for them. But at the end of the day, I don't think they're really going to be competing for the Big 12 this year in Ames, Iowa. But hey, you're going bowling, in my opinion. 6-6, 4-5 in the conference for Iowa State. Sixth place, Kansas State, 7-5, 4-5 in the conference. Their losses are going to be to Oklahoma, Iowa State, TCU, Baylor, and West Virginia. Um, I like what Chris Kleeman's doing there at Kansas State. I really do. I look at Kansas State. They bring back a lot. Kansas State. Actually, wrong team. I'm looking at the wrong notes here. Let me flip my notes here real quick. Here we go. They bring back a lot. Yes, 7 offensive starters, 7 defensive starters. They bring in Adrian Martinez from Nebraska. I know people are going to roll their eyes, but he kind of fits what they want to do there at Kansas State offensively. I actually think he's going to be better at Kansas State than he was at Nebraska. Um, but I don't know if Kansas State has the talent to really go up against Oklahoma, Baylor. I do have them being Oklahoma State, but go up against, and I also have them being Texas as well. But I don't know if they could do it consistently. Um, I think they're a middle of the road team to above average team in the Big 12. They have a good culture, so they'll probably get an extra win or two against a team that might be having a new head coach or might be struggling a little bit. But I like where Kansas State is at. I like the direction they're going. As I said, Chris Kleeman really building a really damn good program there, in my opinion. I just think it's going to take some time, but I know sixth place might not be where Kansas State fans want it, but I do think you have a crack at 8 games to go ahead and win 8 games like you guys did last year. So Kansas State 7-5, 4-5 in the conference. Seventh place, Texas Tech 5-7, 3-6 in the conference. Their 5 wins are going to be against Murray State, Houston, Texas, West Virginia, and Kansas. Texas Tech always seems to get off to a hot start and then they kind of disappear once Halloween season comes. I think that's going to happen this year. They bring in a new head coach, Jerry Maguire. He's never been a coordinator before, and that does concern me a little bit. I do think this could be flash in the pan type season. They bring back 6 stars on each side. And if you remember, Texas Tech did go 7-6 last year while firing their head coach Matt Wells midseason. In my opinion, I thought that was a knee-jerk reaction to blowing a 2-touchdown lead against Kansas State. Um, That's just my opinion there. But I think they're going to be competitive in a lot of these games. I really do. I just think at the end of the day, first year head coach, never been a coordinator. I know there's some excitement around that program, primarily because Joey McGuire is recruiting well, but I just think it's going to be. I think they're just going to come up short of a bowl game. I really do. 5-7, 3-6 in the conference. Eighth place in the Big 12 is going to be West Virginia. 4-8, 3-6 in the conference. Your 4 wins are going to be against Kansas, Towson, TCU, Kansas State. West Virginia is going to be a lot better than this 4-8 record. I know West Virginia fans are probably rolling their eyes at this prediction, and I get it. That schedule is brutal. I mean, you gotta go on the road, and both games are on Thursday nights, I believe, or at least weeknights against Pittsburgh in week 1, which is a top 25 team in my opinion, and then against Virginia Tech, which I think some people are sleeping on. I think you guys do have a shot against in both of those games because they are rivalry games, and I'm glad to see the rivalry games back. But I think you drop them both. I also think you look at the how the Big 12 schedule lines up. Guys don't really get a break in the Big 12 schedule. I mean, a lot of the teams like such as Iowa State, uh, Texas Tech, even like Texas or Oklahoma State, they're all on the road. So, in my opinion, I just think that it's going to be a bit of a rough year in the record standings. I do think Neil Brown is the right head coach. I do. But I think it's going to be a rough season because of that schedule primarily. But I think they're going to be a lot better than that 4-8 record. And I think after this year, maybe the schedule lines up some, and maybe West Virginia could get back to what they're used to, 8-4 every year. Ninth place in the Big 12 is TCU, 4-8, 3-6 in the conference. I know they bring back a lot. I honestly think they downgrade big time at head coach. Gary Patterson, they decided to let him go midway through the season, primarily so they could get ahead and hire the head coach that they got in Sonny Dykes. Um, Texas Tech and TCU, part of the reason why both of those teams fired their head coaches in the midseason was so they can go get Sonny Dykes. I'm just going to be blunt with saying this. I think that's laughable. Texas Tech is probably just about even between Matt Wells and Sonny Dykes. But for TCU to fire Gary Patterson like that, just so they could go around and get Sonny Dykes, I think is an insult in my opinion. Um, I have them going 4-8, 3-6 in the conference. Their 4 wins are going to be against Tarleton State. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Kansas State, Texas Tech, and Iowa State. I do have them losing against SMU. They play SMU in the non-conference. I think Rhett Lansell. I hope I'm pronouncing that last name right. I think he's going to score a bunch of points on TCU. I think SMU is going to win that game. They also have a non-conference game against Colorado as well that I think TCU gets upset in week 1 in that one. But I think it's going to be a rough year for TCU. I just do. I know they bring back a lot, but I have no faith in Sonny Dykes as a head coach. I mean, if you look at Sonny Dykes last year, um, his team started out 8-1 and lost the final 3 games when they faced real competition in the American. Um, that just and he got a promotion because SMU's staying in the American and TCU's in the Big 12. I just think it's a downgrade. I really do. And I think I'm going to be right about this because I don't think Sonny Dykes is going to be the head coach at TCU for more than like 5 years. So TCU, ninth place, 4-8, 3-6 in the conference. And then 10th place is Kansas. Kansas is going to be the last place team. They do bring back a lot. They do. I do have them getting a conference win against TCU in the conference. I think, and out of the conference, they also go ahead and beat Tennessee Tech and Duke. Their other out of conference game is against Houston. I think they lose that one, but I think Kansas is heading in the right direction. Lance Leipold is definitely getting this team in the right direction. It's going to be a long rebuild. It is. Um, but I think the good news is that you bring back a lot of experience this year. Maybe you guys could go a bit better than 3-9. I mean, I could see it with that experience on your team against some. I mean, some of these teams that I predict ahead of Kansas might not be as good as I'm predicting them to be. So we'll see what happens. But I got Kansas going 3-9, 1-8 in the conference. So those are the standings for my Big 12 for the Big 12 this year that I have. So the Big 12 championship game is going to be Baylor versus Oklahoma. I think it's going to be a great Big 12 championship game. I have Baylor repeating. I just think Baylor's the best team in the Big 12. I think they should be the favorite going into this year. Um, as I said, I like what Dave Aranda's doing there at Baylor. Um, you look at Baylor, they're going to be a big powerhouse in the Big 12 once Oklahoma and Texas leave. I mean, them, BYU when they come in, Cincinnati to a bit of a lesser degree. Oklahoma State's going to be there. But Baylor and BYU are going to be kind of the big two teams in that Big 12, in my opinion, once Oklahoma and Texas leave. So I think you're going to start seeing that realignment in the Big 12. I think, as I said, and I think Baylor's just the best team in the Big 12. I think they win the Big 12. So comment down below. Tell me what you think about the Big 12 this season. I always like hearing from you all. Thanks for watching the video. Hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try to get the Pac-12 also out today. If not, it's going to be out tomorrow. Thanks for watching the video. McD the Beast signing off.